Your hosts, Jimmy Thompson and Donato Bucci. They're covering the most current issues in sports from the 305 to the 412 and all the way to the West Coast. You can follow them on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at JT and the Don, or email them at jtandthedon@gmail.com. Now take it away, guys.
Give them a shot to do what?
Welcome to the next episode of JT and the Don, presented by Give Us a Shot Network. I am the Don, Donato Bucci, and remember to subscribe to us wherever you find all of your other favorite podcasts, and please leave us a 5-star review. Thank you to Nicole Thompson for the wonderful introduction into our guy Mike Regina with the pump up JT and the Don music. It's a great beat that he dropped for us. It's our annual MLB preview show with a special guest. But first, let me welcome in everyone's favorite JT, Jimmy Thompson. How you feeling today?
Is this what we got to do every time? We got to bring on a guest to get you on your A game. That was the fastest intro we've ever had. Thank you. Finally, to the point, not wasting my time, because I already got to deal with you too much. That was a fast intro. So, hey, look, perfect. I'm fine. Start the show.
All right. So you've already talked too much. So let's welcome in our special guest and MLB expert to help us with this show tonight. It is the senior sports writer at thegameday.com and a fellow Paisan, Frank Emirante. How are you? Good to see you again. Thank you for your time.
I'm doing great because honestly, I absolutely love coming on your guys' show. And, I look forward to it every year before the football season. But this year, you guys spoiled me with the early visit for baseball. I love it. And hyped up for opening day on Thursday and can't wait to discuss.
We know how busy you are. We see you active on social media. So to get you at least twice on the show in a year, hey, we're the lucky ones. So, thank you. Let's get right to it with, of course, no MLB preview show would be right without talking about the evil empire, the New York Yankees. The Yankees are battling injuries as the start of the season quickly approaches. So listen to this long list. They'll be without Gerrit Cole for 2 months. Aaron Judge, as we know, has been dealing with an abdominal injury. He did come back during late spring training here. DJ LeMahieu has a pretty significant bone bruise, is what they're calling it, on his right foot. Anthony Rizzo dealt with a lat tightness last week, so about a week ago. You've got infielder Oswald Peraza. He's been shut down for at least 6 to 8 weeks at the initial time of diagnosis with a right shoulder strain. He was one of their top bullpen arms from last year. And then you've got Tommy Canley. He had offseason shoulder inflammation, and he's unlikely to be ready for opening day. So, Frank, after all of that, I'm going to start off with you. Are they cursed? Are the Yankees actually cursed with all of these injuries?
Well, they've had the Gerrit Cole one was brutal. That sort of came out of nowhere. He's been like the poster boy of like good health as a pitcher, such a position where, everyone gets in, a lot of players get injured every year, and Cole was able to stay healthy, and now the injury bug finally bit him. That really sucks for the Yankees, but at least it's not, at this point, it doesn't look like season ending. Like you said, it's a couple months. But as we know with pitchers, anything related to, the elbow or the shoulder, it was, I think the shoulder, his injury, it's always risky. So that sucks. You got to expect, maybe like 100 innings from him. I'm just pulling it up. Yeah, it was his elbow. Sorry. So yeah, anytime you see the elbow, it's worrisome. But the good news for the Yankees is, one, they got Juan Soto, and that's an MVP candidate that's going to obviously help out their lineup. And, you look at the rotation, even with Gerrit Cole, last season, Carlos Rodon was like not to say a disappointment would be an understatement. He was, 6.85 ERA. He only went 64 innings. He's healthy right now, and you got to think he's going to be much better than that. Like that performance you can chalk up to him returning from injury. Maybe he won't get back to the level he was 2 years ago with the Giants, but you got to think he'll still be like a serviceable number 3 with upside for more. And they added Marcus Stroman, nothing flashy, but he's an innings eater that could help out. Nestor Cortez also dealt with injuries and now he's healthy. So the fact that Rodon should be better. Stroman is in the fold. Cortez is healthy. It could help out offset the loss of Cole to some degree. And the upgrade with Juan Soto the lineup could help them tread water, is what I mean, while Cole is out. I should also mention a young pitcher they have, Luis Gil, who won a spot in the rotation. He looks great in spring. That could help out during the Cole's absence as well. To sum it up, I do think they should be fine and still be a playoff team, much better than last year. I didn't even mention Anthony Volpe looks good in spring training. In year 2, you got to think he could build off last season's performance. So all in all, this lineup is dangerous. You mentioned Anthony Rizzo. He looks ready to return opening day. DJ LeMahieu is a bit of a loss, but he is getting older. It's not a massive loss. So in short, I know I rambled long here, but the Yankees should be fine.
Yeah, no, that was good. So Frank says no curse. JT, what do you say?
Hey man, I'm just glad he said it because apparently, I mean, in this house, I can't say anything good about the Yankees. So, I'm gonna disagree with you.
She made you wear that hat. She made you wear that hat, JT.
You think I bought this? But no, I do think they are cursed. Like this is what the Yankees do. Like they spend all the money, they take a step forward, and then something always happens, and they take 2 steps back. And it just so happens, like you said, Mr. Consistent, never injured, Gerrit Cole gets hurt out of nowhere, and it's like you hear elbow, like you said, we're immediately thinking Tommy John, and they're like, are they going to shut him down for the year? Now they're like 2 months. Like even if he does come back, like he's not going to be on his game. Like he's going to be inconsistent. The fact that they're shutting him down for 2 months lets you know like there's actual concern there for long term. So if he's not 100%, you named all those guys in that bullpen. I don't trust them because all those guys, Cortez and those guys, would get lit up at any point, especially in that ballpark. So without him, and then like Aaron Judge is the other guy I don't trust because like he's always seemed to get like little bumps and bruises. I know he was like a little banged up in the spring, but it's like, is it serious? Is it going to be something that lingers into the season? I think he was having like a toe issue. So it's like I was really expecting this Yankees team to come into the season healthy. Like, and it looked like a really good team, like probably top 3 in the league. But now, like without Cole and like all these little injuries here and there, like I can't trust them. Like I think it's a big deal.
Well, listen, we're talking about curses. They are not cursed. You talking about curses? You're talking about the Red Sox.
They lost the World Series to us. The Marlins. That's not a curse. Come on.
But then they won in 2009. So you talking about the Red Sox and the Cubs. Those are what you're talking about curses. Long droughts.
The Pirates are a curse.
They have been. The Sid Bream curse, I guess, is real. So curse, no. But I will say, I think even going back to last year, they had Carlos Rodon. He was hurt, Frank. That's why he only pitched so many innings. Going into opening day, not only him, but Tommy Canley again, Lou Trevino, I think Frankie Montas. I mean, they've got to start looking at what is either who are they signing or what are they doing in the offseason with the offseason training, conditioning program, spring training programs. Like they've got to look into this because even if you go back to the 2019 season, we saw a lot of injuries. It just seems kind of like odd bad luck. So it's not cursed, but they've got to fix that within the organization somehow.
It's karma. The Yankees should not be this powerful for this long, man. They're never going to win it all.
All right, so talking about being powerful, Frank, can they survive without Gerrit Cole?
Yeah, I think they could survive just because, like I said, Rodon should be a lot better. Luis Gil's got some upside as a number 5 starter. Nestor Cortez is healthy. I get what you guys are saying though. Like it is risky. Like Rodon is a huge injury risk, and he was not good at all last year. Cortez is also an injury risk. So I totally get the concerns. Just personally, if I have to make a bet, I'd say they'd be still, right in the mix.
JT. JT gets agreeing.
It's the Yankees. I gotta
You can't do that to Frank. Frank's the MLB expert.
Hey, it's him or I got to walk outside this door after this show. I disagree. They can't survive this Gerrit Cole injury. And it's for everything, like I said before. I don't trust the bullpen. I love Soto, but, I mean, like, let's not pretend Cole was a big part of the expectations of this team this year. It's like we brought in all this stuff because we knew we had this one guy that we can consistently count on. And now he's not there. And like I said, even if he does come back, late June, he's not going to be the same. Like, I don't trust the Yankees. So, yeah, I don't think they can survive without him.
All right, so before I give my answer, Mike Hughes, thank you for listening. He says, all I'm saying is Anthony Rizzo for comeback player of the year.
Could see
Mike,
it.
Yeah, Mike, don't go too far. We're going to get to those sort of predictions and categories, which I think you'll like. Real quick here, I think they can survive without Gerrit Cole. Look at the Rangers last year. Jacob deGrom out last year. He was supposed to be their ace. Did they win the World Series without him? I'm pretty sure. He only had 6 starts, and they still won the World Series. Then they go and get Max Scherzer. Guess what he does? Only 8 starts and is injured. Ethan Eovaldi, he had, about 25 starts, so a lot more than the other guys, but they were able to piece it together. And no offense to the Rangers, but you guys have been saying it. They've got the firepower. Soto, Rizzo coming back, Judge, Volpe. Hey, Stanton might not be the contact hitter, but he can produce when he needs, not when he needs to, but he can produce those fireworks.
Oh, I got some Stanton later that you're going to hear.
Okay. So,
we doing Stanton on this show? Come on, man. I thought I was done with him when he left the Marlins.
Hey, small market teams like my Pirates do not feel bad for the Yankees and Gerrit Cole. They'll be completely fine, so don't worry.
You done bashing the Yankees? Can we go on to talk about why you really want to
bashing the
have
Yankees?
This show?
I just said they'll be fine without Gerrit Cole.
All right, so we got to talk about Ohtani. So I got 2 guys that do betting. I don't bet, so you guys are going to be in charge of. Now you don't want to claim that?
We simply are in the know. We are simply in the know.
Can you let the man speak for himself? Categorize yourself. But yes, we're talking about Ohtani. So MLB has now opened an investigation following the allegations involving the interpreter for Shohei Ohtani. And what Ohtani's representatives claimed was a massive theft. So the allegations against his interpreter center around wire transfers totaling $4.5 million. Oof. From Ohtani's accounts to an illegal bookmaking operation in California. So, question is, thoughts on the situation, and is this a Pete Rose-like situation that MLB has on their hands, Frank?
So Frank, before you go, just to follow up, Shohei, he actually had his press conference a little bit before we got on the show. Obviously had a different interpreter, basically came out and said that it was theft. He's never bet on sports, never bet on baseball. He didn't field any questions, and we kind of know both sides of the story. It was initially that, Ipe Muzahara initially said he, meaning Shohei, was present, knew about the wire transfer and what it was for, then later recanted that. Ohtani's people then obviously also then denied it even though initially saying they knew about it, then they denied it, saying it was quote unquote the massive theft. So just wanted to clear that up because he made a further statement today, he himself, meaning Shohei. So the floor is yours, Frank.
Yeah, so it was obviously a really surprising story. Feels like there's more than they're saying. We got to just let the investigation play out. If I have to make a prediction and a read on the situation, I would say, he probably won't face any discipline, at least this year. And it sounds strange that this interpreter would be able to just get $4.5 million and then bet on it. So I don't know. We got to wait and see. But if I'm thinking in terms of, is Shohei Ohtani going to miss time in the 2024 season? I would bet no. But I mean, who knows? It's tough to predict, but that would be my bet on Ohtani betting, no pun intended. But we'll have to see. Hopefully it doesn't get bad for him because obviously he's such a joy to watch. But yeah, it was a pretty crazy story when that dropped.
Yeah, I think no matter some of the other info, I think the main question is, regardless of who did it, whether it was Ipe or Ohtani, was there betting on baseball? I think that's the question it comes down to, because the investigation could come out, okay, bets were placed by Ohtani with an illegal bookmaker, but the question at the end of the day is, was it on baseball? Because two things, the stolen money story, I'd like to believe Ohtani and his people, but I'm not buying it because, listen, JT and I on most days of the week, we're best friends. There is no way in the world he would ever give me his bank account info and vice versa. Let's be honest.
There's no way you get your hands on $4 million from it. Like, no, unless we're in cahoots. That's the only way you're getting that kind of
money. Or like, I don't even know how would you be able to steal that info to be able to use it without identification.
Well, I would say the one outlier is, I forgot the guy's name, but the guy that worked for the Jags stole like $20 million for betting. But that's the only time I've seen somebody get their hands on money that big that's not theirs.
But JT, he literally had direct access to those accounts, right? As the team, as one of the team representatives. This is a personal bank account or whatever billionaires have. I don't even know if they call them bank accounts. So that's one thing where let's put that stolen money to the side, because I'm not quite buying it yet, but I'm open.
So say it out loud. You're saying he's lying about the stolen money part.
I'm open-minded to it. What I'm saying is that part doesn't matter right now. Let's just put that to the side. The illegal bookie part, I don't think matters either, because at the end of the day, the feds, they go after the illegal bookmaker, not necessarily. They're not looking to put the person who puts $100 or $20 bets with this bookmaker who has obviously a multi-million-dollar bookmaking enterprise. They're not looking to put the bettor in jail, but the bookmaker. So put that to the side too. So JT, it goes back to your question. It doesn't matter if it was stolen or not, because if there was no, in my opinion, if there was no betting on baseball, he's going to get a undisclosed fine, behind doors discipline with the undisclosed fine, and they're going to move on, because he would have really have done nothing wrong in terms of he didn't bet on baseball. He's allowed to bet on other sports. He's not allowed to bet on baseball. So whether the money was stolen or not, if there was no betting on baseball, then it's up to the feds what they're going to do with the bookmaker, what they want to do with, all of the other info they have. But if no bets were placed on baseball, he's going to get a slap on the wrist, meaning an undisclosed fine.
I'm not saying he did it or he did it. He did it. But if he didn't bet on baseball, this wouldn't have even made it to the press. Like, the fact that I think that where there's smoke, there's fire. Obviously, there was some bet on baseball. I don't know how many, but there's a reason we're in this situation. And like you said, I do think the stolen money is a big deal, because it speaks to level of access and how close these two are. Like, this interpreter, that's a big deal for him. And I want to see what MLB is going to do, because they got to be very careful, because I understand they're in a tough spot. This is a top 3 athlete in the world. Like, as far as being recognizable, making you money, like, he is worth $1 billion wherever he goes. So you just can't, throw this man away for a year or like a lifetime ban or anything like that. Like, MLB can't afford to lose that money. But also, if he's guilty or complicit in any way, they can't afford to turn a blind eye, because there's a bunch of guys that are trying to get into Cooperstown that watched and did what MLB wanted in the shadows, and they paid for it with steroids. So they're all like, hey, we're avoiding the steroid era. That's a black eye. This is a black eye too. And Pete Rose, we brought him up in the question, but he got something to say about this too. So I want to see what happens. I do think that he knows what's going on. I don't think this guy who's his really good friend in charge of, his interpretation is just, all right, I somehow got my hands on this money he didn't know. Like, Ohtani knows. And if he doesn't know, his people know. So I want to see what happens. I'm not saying he did or did not yet. He did it. But I want to see, my thing is more of, I want to see how MLB handles it, because they got to answer to the public, because Ohtani is not coming out and saying anything that's convincing me that this should be over. So I want to see what happens.
But JT, at the end of the day, the optics do look bad. There's no doubt about it. But they've got a rule. The optics are bad. I agree.
I get the optics part. I get the optics part. But if you have the receipts to say, like, he did not bet on baseball, there were no baseball bets placed, boom, we could put that out there, and you can go to hell with how you feel about optics. It's over for me if they do that. But the fact that they haven't done it tells me, like,
because they need to pull the records up. When you're betting when you have $4.5 million of debt. There's a lot of games that they've got to sort through to see what he bet
You
on.
sound like you know a lot about this personally, man.
No,
How much are you betting out there in the world?
I
should give you my bank account information.
But what I'm saying is, if his interpreter, even if it's through the interpreter, is placing all of these bets, they've got to go back through an illegal book. This isn't just, hey, let's pull up the FanDuel app for Shohei Ohtani. That's not how it works with
these guys. They got to go and look at the old handwritten book.
They might have to. Who knows how this bookmaker's keeping his books? That's part of why it's illegal.
That's why they need to hire you for this investigation. You have this done in 2 days max.
No. Anything else, Frank? You've got the last word on this if you want before we move on.
The last word is that, like I said, I know we're saying it sounds fishy, but it would really suck if, he was suspended like a year or more, or any lengthy suspension.
They can't afford that.
So let's hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you hope it's not a bigger concern or problem for those two individuals as well, taking into account, their well-being as well. So, so we're going to play the baseball version. I know JT's not excited about this. I am. We're going to play the baseball version of the check down game and the fast break. So for baseball, the first time we've done this, we're going to call it the squeeze play. We will ask a question. So, Frank, this is how it works. We know you watch the show, but just to refresh everyone at home, we will ask a question and provide 2 possible answers. And then you simply pick the answer you think best fits that question. So, like multiple choice. We give you the answer. You got to pick the one you think fits best. So, first one, more pressure, Frank, the Yankees or on the Dodgers?
Oh, definitely the Dodgers. They're the heavy favorite to win the World Series along with the Braves. They brought in Ohtani. They brought in Yamamoto. They brought in Glass now. They're an absolutely stacked team. Whereas, like we said, the Yankees are dealing with an injury to their ace in Gerrit Cole. So if they were to, fall short, we would sort of understand it. They're without Cole. Whereas the Dodgers are just, like I said, completely stacked. So they're the ones with more pressure this season.
Interesting. All right, JT, you agree?
Why are you saying interesting like that isn't the obvious answer? Of course it's the Dodgers. 1 billion reasons why it's the Dodgers. They spent that much in free agency in the offseason. They have the biggest star probably of the last decade or two in town now. And he has a scandal. Expectations, I feel like, for the Dodgers are always through the roof. But, now with this scenario and who they brought in, the expectations are on the moon. We all expect the Yankees to do this, look good and just don't get it done. This is in their DNA. The Dodgers, we expected them to be the start of a dynasty. So, yeah, all the pressure's on them. So
I'm going to respectfully disagree with Frank and then just plain old disagree with JT.
That's how you know you're wrong.
So this is the thing. I think long-term for the Dodgers, yes, this group with Ohtani, they do need to win a title at some point. There's no doubt, especially because the 2020 pandemic season, a lot of people, especially for the baseball season, a lot of people look at it as is that a true title? But I digress from that argument.
Do you look at your fantasy COVID championship as we don't know? No, you claim it's a championship.
That's different. I played most of the season.
No, you did not.
So this is the thing, though. This is why I would say more pressure this year on the Yankees. All right. You've got the last title they've won, 2009. That's 15 years. That's 14 years too long for any Yankees fan, which brings me to the Yankees fan. The Dodger fans, yes, they're diehard, but they're not like the Yankees in terms of the pressure. They expect you to go 162-0 to sweep everybody in the playoffs and beat the Red Sox in the World Series, even though that's not possible. So the fans are a big difference too. There's way more pressure in the city of New York for the Yankees than there is in LA on the Dodgers. Maybe nationally the Dodgers feel the pressure, but in LA, it's a party. They're loving the fact that they've spent $1 billion and have all these stars. Then on top of that, you got who's their manager? Is it still Boone? Who's their GM? Is it still Cashman? They are always on the hot seat, especially this year. Dave Roberts ain't going anywhere, even if they lose this year. But those two guys, Boone and Cashman, they can't sleep at night. They have that much pressure. And then on top of that, no playoffs last year. You trade for Soto. Who knows how long this team is going to be together? Because you said it, DJ LeMahieu's getting older, Frank. And now we're seeing Gerrit Cole, who was a workhorse. He's starting to break down. The Dodgers are going to have their chances in the next 4 or 5 seasons. The Yankees, I don't know about that. I think that's why there's more pressure this season on the Yankees than the Dodgers.
You know, you raise a good point there in the sense that Juan Soto has not signed a long-term deal with the Yankees. So if they have a down year and, you know, the Mets come out offering all this money to him, he could be enticed to leave. So they need to, you know, even without Cole, like you're saying, have a relatively successful year and keep Juan Soto in the fold. So at first I was like, whoa, how is he going to defend this one, Yankees more? But you really broke it down nicely on how you could argue they have more pressure than the Dodgers.
So wait, did I get you to flip the answer? Your answer. Is it flip?
On it?
Come on,
I think you may. You know what? I'm gonna say you
don't
did.
Do it. Don't do it.
Yes,
because you gave
That's
good,
the right answer. That's the right answer.
You gave good points because even if the Dodgers, like, what's a bad year for them? They're still probably gonna make the playoffs. It's just probably losing in round 1 again. Whereas the Yankees, like you said, have really not had a deep run in the playoffs in a while. Juan Soto's on he's a contract year. They got to keep him. They even got Gleyber Torres in a contract year, and he's really good. I'm high on him this year. So you know what? You convinced me.
Yes. That's why you're the man, Frank.
Thanks,
you're the
Frank.
man.
He'll never show
only
this.
you will
talk about this
allow
for
yourself
months.
to
For
flip
months.
the answer without JT making you feel bad. And by the way, JT, do you literally have every hat except the Pirates, Penguins, and Steelers? I mean, every team we've named, you had a
Weren't
hat
you ever
for.
taught this? Mind your business. That's none of your concern. Just know I have hats that piss you off. Just know they're still here.
Real quick, Know Thyself, 2011. Pirates world champs in 24. I mean, I know I got the shirt on. We'll get to some more predictions. Listen, if I pick the Pirates as world champs. So stay tight. Stay tight. All right. So next question of the squeeze play. Frank, bigger bounce back. 3 options. Juan Soto, Vlad Jr., or Fernando Tatis Jr.
So I didn't pick Juan Soto because he still had a pretty good year last year. I love Vlad. I think he'll bounce back and have a good year. He had a really down year last season, but my favorite out of this is Fernando Tatis to bounce back. You know, last season he was coming back from injury. Now he's fully healthy. Juan Soto's gone. He's got to really carry the load for the Padres. You know, this is a guy that led baseball in barrel rate a couple years ago at like 20%. That's like Aaron Judge levels. So he's got a ton of power. I think he's really going to go off this year and hit 40-plus homers, maybe steal 30. And, you know, I'm going to talk about him a little more in our awards picks because Tatis, I think, is going to bring home some hardware this year as well.
Ooh, I'm excited. I just want to get to that section right now. All right, JT, what do you got?
I mean, I feel like I can't pick Soto, but that's who I would pick. I mean, I just think because of what he could be, you know, on the Yankees. I mean, it's a change of scenery, Hitters Park. Like, they need him right now, like, honestly. And he's looked good in the spring. Like, I think just his opportunity. And he just changed your mind about the Yankees. Like, if he plays much better or how we think he can play and he does it in New York with that team, like, yeah, like, even though the bounce back might be a little bit overrated, like, it's going to be celebrated. So I think it's going to be Soto.
JT, did you watch any baseball last season?
No, not at all.
Pick the Soto answer?
Not at all.
I mean, listen, Soto played.
I didn't say he sucked last year. I'm just saying he's going to bounce back. He didn't. I picked him to win the MVP last year. He did not play up to that level.
But to have a bounce back, you have had to have had a bad season or a less than.
He didn't play up to my expectations. So
okay,
it's a bounce back.
So the JT expectations, but realistic expectations. He played in all 162 games.
What is your answer? If it's not Juan Soto, just say it's not Juan Soto.
Listen,
we know you want to play Vlad Jr. because you love him.
I gotta make sure the listeners know how wrong you are here.
I didn't stutter. I said what I said.
He was 1 hit shy of his career high, 1 RBI shy of his career high. He led the league.
He gonna say all this to say Juan Soto.
And he had 32 doubles, which tied a career high. He had a lot of career high numbers there. So I'm going to agree. I'm going to agree with Frank in that it's Tatis. He'll have the bigger bounce back. Tatis missed 20 games. And don't forget this. He missed all of the 2022 season with the PD suspension and the injuries. So naturally, I just think he's going to be in more of a rhythm to start the season to the end, put the past behind him. And then, Frank, to your point with some of the stats, I think he still hit, 25 homers, 78 RBIs, a career-high 29 stolen bases. So he definitely can get to the numbers that you just said. And he still ended up 14th in the MVP voting last year. So I think big things are on the horizon for Tatis. I agree with Frank wholeheartedly there. So, Frank, more overvalued. So, Frank, I know you've seen this show enough times. You've been on this show. This is definitely a JT drama type question.
Out of all the
more
questions,
overvalued.
That means he doesn't have a good answer for it. Anytime he doesn't have a good answer, it's all of a sudden it's my question. Just ask it.
You're reaching here. More overvalued. So we got three options again, Frank. Elly De La Cruz, Luis Robert Jr., or Adolis Garcia.
All right, so I took a fantasy baseball angle to this because, to be honest, I love Luis Robert as a player. But from fantasy baseball, from that perspective, where he goes in round 3 or so, I'm saying he's a bit overvalued, and it's just because that White Sox team is really bad. So the lineup isn't great. You know, they got Eloy Jimenez, but he's injured a lot. Andrew Vaughn's all right, but aside from that, there's not much, and the RBI opportunities could be low. Like we saw last year, he had around 80, low 80s. Mm-hmm. So it's just a poor supporting cast for Luis Robert. And he's dealt with injuries in the past. Like last year, he stayed healthy, but prior to that, he had some lingering injuries. So, what if they're way out of it? I mean, what motivation? He may be. These are humans, these athletes. Like he won't be. It's August and they're 20 games out of it. How motivated can Robert be? So from a fantasy baseball perspective, I'm lower on Luis Robert. If we're talking real life, maybe it would be Adolis Garcia just because he's a free swinger. Even though he improved his walk rate last year, he still, sometimes has strikeout issues. But they're all three great players. But if I have to pick one from fantasy baseball, it'll be Luis Robert.
I like how you threw the fantasy aspect into it, Frank. I like that. JT.
Oh, he likes a JT question now. See?
Who you going with? I liked the answer, not the question.
You know what? That's why I can't deal with you. And you notice what he said? He said these athletes are humans. That also applies to running backs. So remember that the next time we have that conversation. I agree with everything.
Let's not go there. This isn't the show for it.
I agree with everything Frank said. I'm gonna just go. I think it's got to be Elly, just because everything he does is so exciting. But I think people just forget he's still rough around the edges in a lot of parts of his game, especially at the plate with discipline and stuff like that. He's big risk, big reward. The tools are there. I think he can be a superstar, but you want to talk about fantasy drafts, he's going way too early too. So I think it's just him, just because I think he has a lot more to clean up in his game, but the talent is there. I mean, the other guys are established, but I would probably pick Elly if it was my choice. So just answer the question.
No.
The whole goal of this show is not for you to be whatever person he is. I'm gonna look up what somebody says negative about them on the internet.
No, I got to push back on De La Cruz. He's only 22. So to say
I
you're
just
overvaluing
said that. I said he's young.
Yeah, but that's part of the value is you have to look at the age. And if you're building a team and you need a guy on your team,
because I'm going to apply this to every argument we
So
have.
the other thing,
the age is the value.
In only 98 games, I mean, he lit it up with stolen bases, defense. He was the fastest to reach 10 homers and 20 stolen bases. He faster than Barry Bonds. To say he's a lot of flash. No, he has substance. You want to talk about, listen, all three are great players, but the overvalue, I've got to agree with Frank, and it's not from a fantasy standpoint. It's from, Garcia, he's proven his worth, right? 3 straight seasons of the numbers he's done, and he's a champ. Elly, 22, he's already proven he can play in this league. With Luis Robert, he's already 27. He batted .264 last year. Yes, the home run numbers were great, 38, but only 80 RBIs, 30 stolen bases, really nice. But it's that was the first time he's done that in a first full season. To me, the jury is still out because he struck out still 132 times. Can he consistently do that? We've seen guys that have had big explosions, 30, 35, 40 home runs, but how does he back it up?
Anderson.
So, so if we're going, maybe even a Chris Davis here and there, like if we're going down that route of, hey, we've got to pick one of these three as overvalue, no disrespect to him, because I think, like Frank said, they're all three great players, but he'd be the guy that I would pick most likely to be that overvalued guy based on he hasn't done it enough, he strikes out a lot, and his average isn't there. It does concern me just a little bit that's why I would lean his way. So good call, Frank.
I get what you're saying with Ellie for sure. He had strikeout issues. He grounded out a lot. But for me, I took like a fantasy baseball angle on this, and I know Ellie goes high in fantasy, and it's just because that stolen base upside is so high. Like the Reds are going to give him every opportunity to play every day. Even if he struggles, they're likely to let him play through it. They won't send him down. He's their most exciting player. And now they have injuries in the infield. Matt McClain is out. So Ellie's going to have every opportunity to play through his struggles, and we've seen he's like, the fastest or second fastest player in baseball. So if he's playing every day, 40 stolen bases feels like conservative almost. So when you have that and you account for how hard he hits the ball, 20 home runs feels perfectly attainable. So already that's 20-40. So what if he improves on everything we're saying? Then, there's upside for more. So I did agree with you that he's overvalued, Ellie, that is, in fantasy at the beginning. But as I thought about it, I think I'm on board with where he goes.
Okay.
Yeah, and real quick, the other part of value is the Reds organization values him because he puts fans in the seats. So it all depends on your definition of value. Maybe some people don't look at it that way, but again, if we've got a team, he's got to be on it because he's going to bring people to the ballpark, even if he's not playing great. He's got enough of that flash, as JT said, that he's going to bring people to the ballpark. All right, so last one of the squeeze play. Frank, start with you. More likely, Acuna regresses from his MVP form from a year ago, or Blake Snell is the free agent savior?
This was a tough one for me because I do think Acuna is going to regress from what he did last year. I mean, they were video game numbers, but that's not to say that he's not going to be an MVP candidate and he could win it again. He's just that good. So I did pick Blake Snell as the free agent savior for this, even though last year, like, it's hard to buy in on him repeating it just because Blake Snell has control issues. However, it was so late in the offseason, and the Giants signed Blake Snell for a cheaper deal than what Snell initially had been asking, and the Giants had a clear need in a frontline starter. So from that perspective, I think Blake Snell is likely to be quite helpful.
Okay, JT.
I don't know. This is such a JT question. It was tough for me to answer.
No, I mean, you came up with the question. You came up with the question.
I feel like I just don't want to pick Blake Snell exactly for what you said because he does have control issues. He's always trying to work the corners, and it's like that can only last so long. It worked last year, but I mean, I think it's going to be Acuna just because of what you said. Like, he put up such a historical season, just like naturally you're going to regress. And then, like, correct me if I'm wrong, he had a knee injury spring, so I'm assuming until that gets right, like, I'm assuming his stolen base attempts are not going to be at where it were, to start last year. So I just think because he's not going to repeat the exact numbers, he's still MVP candidate, like you said. He's still probably top 3 best player in baseball. But I just think that he's going to regress from the season from last year. I think that is more likely.
Listen, I'm not betting against Acuna, so I'm not
80 stolen bases.
I'm not going to say he regresses. And the thing is, I get maybe some of the injury concern, but that's really the only question is injuries. Can he stay healthy?
The only thing. All right, nice to know.
But you know what? For his talent, I'm willing to take that risk, and I don't think he regresses because he's only 26. But this is the thing: he had 73 stolen bases last year, Frank. I think there's a new rule on obstruction that is only going to help him now. Like, you cannot block the bag at second base anymore. Like, that's a new obstruction rule. That's only going to increase his numbers. That's only going to increase his want of attempts. So all of a sudden, you made this guy that's dynamic even more dynamic. So I'm going to say more likely is that Snell's the free agent savior because I'm not betting against Acuna. And when you look at Snell, 2.25 ERA, best in MLB, led NL pitchers in WAR, 235 strikeouts in 180 innings. I mean, I understand maybe some of the control issues, but sometimes as pitchers get older, they improve some of that control because they don't have that velocity. They have to be a little bit more crafty. Maybe he's gotten to that point. So I'm going to say Blake Snell is the free agent savior. I'm going with Frank again. I can't be wrong if I'm going with Frank.
ERA first month. Now I'm going to want to bury this episode.
Yeah, we'll delete the tape. We'll delete that segment. Don't worry about it.
All right, man. Let's get to what we really brought you in for. So, of course, no show is complete without predictions. Good thing about our show is we always hold ourselves accountable. So we'll let you guys know what we picked last year. I know he's super happy I found this data. But Frank, you get added to this list as well. So we really, really are dependent on you to carry us because I'm not expecting to catch lightning twice in the bottle with this one. So we're going to read a category. You're going to give us who your choice is for that award. And for the ones that I have the info for, I'll let you know how we did last year. So first one on the books is AL and NL breakout players. Give me one player for each league.
All right. So again, this is a focus on fantasy. So I pick on my picks. Well, like for breakouts, that is. So for AL, I'm going Jarren Duran on the Red Sox. You know, last year he stole 24 bases in only 102 games. He's penciled in as the team's leadoff hitter. He still even hit 8 home runs during that span, Duran did. So, you know, he's 27 years old. The Red Sox are really not a contending team. They should give him opportunities. I know the Red Sox have other young outfielders there, so if Duran struggles, there's a bit of risk. But I just love Duran's stolen base upside. Like, if he plays every day and gets to, like, 500-plus plate appearances, you could be looking at, 35-plus stolen bases and close to 15 home runs. And, his batting average, last year he hit 295. So he could hit at least, 260. It's not like he strikes out like crazy. So that's speed upside with a bit of power makes Jarren Duran an AL breakout for me this season. And you want me to get into that now right away?
Yeah. Do you got?
All right. My bad.
No, you're good. You're good.
My NL pick, I went with Jordan Walker on the Cardinals. He's still quite young. He had a lot of hype coming into last season, and he was relatively disappointing given the hype. But at 21 years old, he hit 276. He only struck out 22% of the time, still had 16 home runs. The Cardinals need him. Lars Nootbaar and now Dylan Carlson even got hurt, and even Tommy Edman is hurt. So they got to depend on Walker in the outfield, and he's got a lot of power. Like I said, at 21 years old, able to do that, what he did in the majors. Even just getting to the big leagues at that age is impressive. Like, a lot of other prospects are still in the minors at 21. So Jordan Walker's got a lot of power. He could hit 25-plus home runs, maybe even get to 15 steals. He stole 22 bases as a 20-year-old in AA. So from a fantasy perspective, you love to hear that in terms of power and speed. So Jordan Walker is my NL breakout.
I like it. I'm going to go with Royce Lewis of the Twins as the AL breakout player. Now, I know he's had 2 ACL injuries, so that's not a good thing. But in 70 games, listen to his hit line: 309, 372 in 548, 17 homers, 5 grand slams. That's amazing. 5 grand slams. The guy can hit under pressure. I'm going to go Royce Lewis, and I think he's flying under the radar too. And then NL, I'm going to go with my Pirate guy, Brian Hayes. He's already an elite defender, but his hitting since June, listen to this, JT, you might like it. You might want to make a trade in fantasy baseball. His hitting in June has been legit, like elite. He's one of only 7 hitters, to post marks of 105 or above in both the Contact Plus and the BIP Plus rankings, which the other guys are Acuna, Mookie Betts, Arenado, Rushman, Bo Bichette, and Alex Baum. That's elite company since June. So I like how he makes contact. I like what he does when he makes the contact, when the ball's in play. So I'm going to go keep Brian Hayes out of the NL.
All right. So last year, I should have started off with the pick. So we did it as like a player to watch. And I will say, Don nailed this. This is like his bragging point for the whole year. Out of all the shit that he gets wrong, this is the one thing he like attaches himself to. His breakout player last year was Gunnar Henderson, and he swears he's an aficionado. And he also had Ryan Papoy. I had Yoshida for the Sox and Graham Ashcraft for the Reds. So it's clear to say he won that round. Any other bragging rights? Did I forget anything?
Don't need to brag when it's true.
Oh wow, I remember that. AL breakout players were kind of hard for me. I guess this guy kind of broke out a little bit in spurts, but I think he'll have a full season breakout. And it's Josh Jung for the Rangers. That's my AL pick. Like he was on fire in the postseason. What, a 867 OPS? Like that's part of the reason why the Rangers won. And you forget, like he broke his thumb in August, and still like I think did he make the All-Star as a rookie? So like it's there. Like I'm just looking at. He stays healthy for a full season. He's got, a taste of success at the highest level of play. Like the monkey's off his back. Like he's already won a title. So all he has to do is just get better. And it's like, is this like kind of like a Bobby Witt type ascension? Like, is that what we're going to be looking at, either this year or the year after? So I picked him as my AL. And then for the NL, I'm going to go back to on the fence pitcher again. Maybe I'll strike gold. I'll get it wrong. Brandon Pfaadt for the Diamondbacks. Like, he was in and out of the rotation last year until late July. And then you forget he came back and started 10 games from that point. Like he had a decent ERA. I think like his strikeout to walk ratio was decent. So I'm like, all right, he went through the bumps and bruises last year. Don's always like, hey, like these young guys, they gotta lose everything and learn by fire before they can have success.
They got to take their bumps.
Exactly. That's exactly what he did last year. So I'm like, hey, look, man, they need him. So he's young. I think he's talented. So that would be my pick this year. All right. Next one. What's on the docket? Oh, AL/NL player that will disappoint.
All right. So this one, my AL disappointment will be Evan Carter of the Rangers. He was great as a rookie, and that's given some lofty expectations for this season. But we have to remember, in that rookie season, in a small sample, struck out 32% of the time. That's quite high. So if you're expecting, the 300 average we saw last season, it's probably unlikely. That's not to say this is not a talented young player. He's only 21. I just think we could be in store for a sophomore slump. He's projected, if you go to Fangraphs, around 15 home runs. He doesn't have quite the power yet. So for those who just saw him in his brief stint last year thinking Evan Carter, is ready to set the league on fire, I think we got to temper expectations.
And then
sorry, and the NL. I keep messing that up.
That's okay.
And the NL disappointment, I'm going with Zach Gallen of the D-backs, and it's for this reason. Last season, if you combine what Zach Gallen did with the playoffs in terms of innings pitched, because the D-backs, of course, went to the World Series, Zach Gallen threw 243 innings. Like, that's a heavy workload. And, we see, like, his previous career high was in 2022, 184 innings. Prior to that, it was 121. So it's a big jump, and we know pitching is a, risky position. Players get hurt all the time. I'm not saying Zach Gallen's necessarily going to get hurt, but you could see, a little bit fewer innings, and maybe he's not at his peak performance than like he was last season. And, Zach Gallen in fantasy drafts goes quite high, so I'm avoiding him this season just because of that heavy workload in 2023.
Oh, man, I had high hopes last year for Zach Gallen. I'm sure JT will get to that. So a little disappointed to hear that, but I'm going to go within the NL with the Braves, Chris Sale. I think the contract he signed, I think it was only 2 years, but he's turning 35. I think he's had some arm injuries lately. I think he's falling into that Max Scherzer situation of a year ago where a lot of hype to this team, but he's not gonna live up to the expectation, I don't think. And then on the AL side, unfortunately, I think it's already come true. It's Lucas Giolito. I think with the Red Sox. And not that I predicted this, but I'm just saying he's going to be the guy that was disappointing for them because he's hurt now. Like the UCL repair, he's out for the season, 2-year, $38.5 million contract. He's done for the year. Yes, I think it's not as bad of a surgery as some of the Tommy John issues that other pitchers have had, but he's done for the year. So to me, that's already the disappointment. The Red Sox really were looking forward to him adding to that rotation. So I don't know who in the AL can have a more disappointing season at this point than what just happened.
Yeah, you stole my answer. I actually put Chris Sale in mine too, so I agree with everything that you said.
Yeah, go with it.
Yeah, you're the GOAT. You're amazing. Anything else that I missed?
No one said all that. Relax over there, Jimmy Drama.
No. I'm gonna go on a limb here. I'm gonna be ridiculous, man, just because I told you I have to hate the Yankees on this show. So it's more of I think he'll be fine, but I'm gonna try to speak it into existence because I don't want them to be successful at all. But like. I think he's the favorite for MVP for the AL. It's Aaron Judge, and I'm like, does he play up to that level? And I'm like, I don't think he does. And this team just has everything is going to go wrong written all over it, starting with Gerrit Cole, like we already said. And I'm just like, is Judge going to be the guy I'm used to seeing, or is this like where the cliff starts to happen? He starts to go down. So I'm being. I hate to say like I want to see somebody get injured. I don't, but I just don't want them to win. And if he's not playing well, that means they will not win. So I'm going Aaron Judge will be disappointment. He won't be terrible, but he won't be the odds-on favorite to win the MVP type of player, I'm saying. All right, so next one. Bounce back player. So this is just one player regardless of league. So one player that will bounce back from a bad season last year. Frank, who do you got?
All right, I said earlier when we were talking about the Yankees, I was going to get into some Giancarlo Stanton, so that's my bounce back player.
Let me turn my mic off.
You know, Giancarlo Stanton showed up to camp looking much slimmer. It's clear that, you know, he's frustrated the last couple seasons dealing with injuries. So you got to think, you know, he's really put emphasis on his body, trying to stay healthier. And you look at how hard he hits the ball. His barrel rate, Stanton, is still in line with, you know, his career norms. This is still a player who has elite power, you know, 24 homers in 101 games last year. It's not to say I think he'll get back to that 59 home run hitter we saw in his last year as a Marlin for Stanton, but I could see 2021 numbers again where you hit 35 homers, 97 RBI. I think Stanton will stay relatively healthy, like not to say he's going to, you know, play every game, but much better than the last 2 years. And I think he's going to bounce back and be quite effective for the Yankees. Giancarlo Stanton's my pick. I
like that answer. If that hits, like ESPN's got to bring you on, Frank. If that hits, my bounce back player is going to be Carlos Correa. I think.
Come on, man!
What
are we doing here?
I told you not to let me go first.
Seriously. I feel like you're doing this on purpose. This is so ridiculous.
I told you, don't let me go in front of you before the show. Ladies and gentlemen,
the fact that you didn't even pick the guy on your own team that should have been your right answer. He was right there in your hometown, and you just you're disrespecting him by not even mentioning him.
Who's the bounce back guy from the Pirates that I got?
Cruz.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Come on, man.
It's Carlos Correa because Correa has proven he can do it. I think the plantar fasciitis really messed him up last year.
Yeah,
he modified his offseason routine supposedly. So I think to what Frank was saying about Giancarlo Stanton, Correa realized he had to make some adjustments and did. And listen, I think they're in a weak division. He's still only 29, so the train hasn't left the station yet on him. I'm going Carlos Correa.
Love that.
I agree with you. That was my pick. And you forget, like he's only 29. You're always talking about age. He signed a 6-year, $200 million deal, and you forget like that wasn't even the highest offer he had in free agency. So people like really thought he still had a lot left in the tank. So I agree that injury sapped him last year. And I think he's healthy. Like you said, he changed his offseason routine, and I think he bounces back. So, I mean, I hate to say great minds think alike because you are not a great mind. So, let's go to teams.
See what I got to deal with here, Frank.
Hey, I love that call, man. I'm in.
What you're saying, sir?
About Correa, I love the call. Not not that he's not a great mind.
I thought he was going to agree with me and say something.
No, I understood what you were saying.
Oh man, I'm trying to make it through this show with this one. All right, so breakout team. So we're talking about a team, for example, who could be the next Rangers or Diamondbacks. So who's your team that's that breakout team this year, Frank?
Okay, so I didn't pick a team that, like the Rangers and Diamondbacks, people would have been surprised they made the playoffs last year, let alone get to the World Series. So I don't think this team will. I didn't choose like a massive underdog like the D-backs were, say, last year, but I chose a team that did not make the playoffs last year. Yeah, they just missed out, and it's the Seattle Mariners. They're still a good team. It's not so much of an underdog, but like I said, they missed the playoffs last year. But that rotation is really good. Luis Castillo, George Kirby, Logan Gilbert, Brian Wu, Bryce Miller. That's 5 deep of really good arms. And of course, they have an emerging superstar in Julio Rodriguez. They got Jorge Polanco from the Twins, who could be a bounce back candidate. So the lineup isn't like as good as, say, other contenders like in their division, even like the Rangers or Astros. But the Mariners pitching is just elite, like I said, and they even got an elite closer in Andres Munoz. So the Mariners have the recipe to make some noise, especially if they could get in with that rotation and get into the playoffs. That is.
Yeah, I mean, they were super close last year. You got to think they take that next step. So that's a good answer, Frank. I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Reds. I think they had some sneaky good offseason moves, Frankie Montas and Nick Martinez. And then you look at, they've got the young talent, but now they've got those veterans. And also they battled until that final weekend. I know they didn't maybe get quite as close as Seattle did, because I think Seattle literally went down to the last game with the Rangers, I think. But Cincinnati still battled till the last weekend. I just think personally, they just need a good start. They got to get through the bad weather games in Cincinnati, and when they go to the Cubs and when they go to Pittsburgh and wherever else, they just have to get off to a good start. They get off to a good start. They get that confidence. This is a dangerous team that I think could be that Rangers, Diamondbacks, where all of a sudden you look up in October and you're like, how did this happen? So I'm going to go with the Reds.
I like those answers. I'm gonna go with the Tigers just because they play in the worst division in baseball, the AL Central. I mean, they have the situation to do it. I mean, they got nice young group of core players. Like, they looked good second half of last year, and like that bullpen has gotten better. Like Screwball, Mize, guys like that. Like, they could take a giant step forward this year. Like, Frank, like Tariq is going way high in draft, so like people are predicting he's gonna be way up there when it comes to like Cy Young consideration. So like I feel like when you have this kind of hype around a team and people like the young core, like a Torkelson and Riley Green, like they're all there, and the opportunity is there to win games because the competition in the division is bad. So I'm saying just because of that scenario, I'm gonna pick the Tigers, which I'll probably be wrong.
That's a deep rotation.
Yeah, I mean it is, and it's perfect. They're in a perfect situation.
Yeah. I really like that answer, JT. I'll give you props there. I'll give you credit because I had
you thought I was gonna say the Pirates, didn't you?
I had them as my second. I was trying to debate between the Tigers and Reds, and when you look at the Tigers, they added Jack Flaherty and Maeda.
He looks good.
And it just, that is nice. And they're young hitters. They improved at the end of last year, and that's what you want to see is growth and development. So I really like that that pick there that you've got. I think that is a potential there.
All right, so I got a chance. Now, this one, my answer is just strictly out of rage, but I could be right. But let's flip the script. The team that will disappoint.
All right, so this one was tough for me because I still like this team that I picked for disappointment. But when I'm looking at the playoff spots, I still think my Jays will get in. I think the Orioles are going to win the division. I think the Yankees are going to get in. And I picked the Mariners, so I think they're going to get in. So who's going to be left out? The Texas Rangers, the defending World Series champions. I know that lineup is completely stacked, and I love their rookie, who I'm going to get into soon when we talk about Rookie of the Year. But, their pitching staff, filled with injury risk, like Andrew Heaney, Nathan Eovaldi. Max Scherzer may be coming back, but he's on the decline, and he's getting older, and he's dealing with injuries too. Jake DeGrom, if he comes back this year, it's for like a cup of coffee in September or maybe the playoff run. So they've built a staff where they can piece it together and maybe hope that it works out, like whereas some of those guys are healthy at the same time. And I know the lineup is great. It's just that maybe they overachieved last year a bit because, you know, they were surprised to even make the playoffs. So when looking at the landscape of the AL, like you mentioned, the Tigers got better. The Twins are still good. You know, the Guardians are decent. So I know that AL Central is weak, but, you know, those teams could still be, you know, on the bubble. So it's a tough AL, and picking a disappointment is difficult, but I got to go with the Rangers because of their injury-prone pitching staff.
You know, they were like my 1A team, Frank, so I'll go down to the 1B. But just to add on real quick about the Rangers, what you were saying is that Jordan Montgomery is not signed either, I don't think, yet. So you've got him out of the way. So like you said, the pitching, we'll see how that goes. And Scherzer is going to start on the DL. And with DeGrom, even if he does come back, he's coming back off a major injury. And you know the way that is in baseball, it takes that 1 year back, then it's that second season where you really get to evaluate a guy. I'm going to go with the Arizona Diamondbacks simply because I think they overachieved, but then also Vegas says they're a plus 4,000. So when Vegas says that, but you've got the Mariners at only plus 2,000, I've got to believe Vegas does not believe in the Diamondbacks. So that's why I'm going to say in terms of teams that'll disappoint, I think it'll be Arizona, especially for their fans.
Damn, so what you're saying is you wouldn't even place that bet with Ohtani's money. Good job, man. I knew you were a gambler. I told you I'm making this pick because I'm mad because I went all in on this team last year and I was like, they're going to be the best thing ever. And they didn't do anything I thought they would. It is these guys right here. This is gonna be the most disappointing team. Just because I feel like everything I argued for this team last year is just like dissipated in a year. It's crazy. It's like there's been regressions across the board in this core that I thought would be amazing for like the next 5 years. And now we're talking about, is Vladdy gonna bounce back? Like Bo Bichette's only getting older. Like this great core that we thought we had is like it's just taking a step back. And I'm mad as hell about I picked them to win the World Series last year, and they did not win. They might make the playoffs, however you worked out your seeding, but I don't think I hope they don't make the playoffs. I don't think they'll be successful.
Hey, I don't like
they
this
should have did it last
office.
year when I wanted bragging rights. And they missed out on Ohtani. Like that hurts.
Well, hold on a second. You can't. We can't have Frank on the show, and then you say it's the Blue Jays that'll. So did you see what the guy? Did you see the hat the guy was wearing?
I brought the hat.
Read the room,
obviously,
JT.
I like him too. I picked him to win the series last year.
Read the room, JT.
That's my third favorite team in the league is the Blue Jays, man. Come on, like I will go there to watch a game. And
I totally get it, especially this offseason. What a disaster. The hope from being hopeful to getting Ohtani to signing Isaiah Kiner-Falefa to, you know, like not doing much at all. I just hate how risk averse the front office is. Like you mentioned, they got a young core. The time to really push all the chips in and go all in and really go for a championship is now. Like, who's to say Vlad Jr. or Bichette even re-sign with the Jays? Like, what are you waiting for? So I get it. I get why you're disappointed and pessimistic.
He has anger in him too. See, the Blue Jays just do this to everyone.
Hold on though, the Ohtani thing, you've got to be realistic.
We thought he was going.
I got brainwashed.
Everybody thought he was going.
Yeah, you did. Thank you. At least Frank can admit it. Like he fell for the.
I fell for it.
He thought he was going there too. You were in Mexico on your fancy phone, like, oh, Ohtani's going. JT, you were trying to confirm the rumors.
Hold on, JT. That's because you were sending me false social media info.
You were trying to confirm the Ohtani
social media.
You were trying to confirm the Ohtani rumors with your
Next
Blue Jays
question.
insider.
Let's go. Frank, we can't keep Frank too long. Let's go.
All right, next one. AL/NL rookie to watch for. So before we do this, I'll give. Actually, I already give his. So we'll just do this. AL/NL rookie to watch for. So Frank, who do you have for both leagues?
So for the AL, I just picked Rookie of the Year, and that's going to be Wyatt Langford of the Rangers. You know, high walk rate, a lot of power, a lot of speed. He's been tearing it up. Langford has in spring training. He earned a spot in the lineup. I mentioned teammate Evan Carter that I think could disappoint a bit, but I think this is the Rangers' young player that will just pop off. You know, you could expect 25 homers, 20 steals, good plate discipline. if you're like a fantasy baseball nut like me that have been drafting like for a while, you saw his ADP just go like a rocket ship. Wyatt Langford is really hyped, and he's my pick for Rookie of the Year. I got him in betting 8-1 like a few weeks ago, and that was the same as Nolan Shanuel on the Angels. Like the betting line was awful on that one. For me, Langford is the favorite in the AL, especially now Jackson Holiday of the Orioles starting the year in the minors. So really high on Wyatt Langford. In the NL Rookie of the Year, you could go Jackson Chourio of the Brewers, but I'm going with Yamamoto and the Dodgers. I know he had a disappointing debut in Korea. He only lasted 1 inning, but elite stuff there. He's got a great splitter. Obviously, he's on an amazing team in the Dodgers, so the wins will be there. When you see a young pitcher or a rookie pitcher really go off, it's hard for them not to win the award, and I think he's going to be the Rookie of the Year of the NL.
Frank, I like how you did the Rookie of the Year award stuff, because you could bring in the fantasy aspect, but then also that betting aspect. So good for the fans there. They got a little bit of extra bonus. I like to look at like what rookies to watch for, because sometimes rookies will come up halfway through the year and it doesn't quite make them eligible for the award, but they pop off and you're like, yo, who is this guy? So I totally agree though. Wyatt Langford, that's the guy. That's the only guy to really watch. I shouldn't say only, but that is the man to watch in the AL. NL, I'm going to go with somewhat of a surprise name, and I got to give my nephew Jackson credit here. I'm going to go James Wood, 6'7" with the Nats. I think at some point he's going to come up and he's going to kind of be, I'm not going to say De La Cruz type stuff, but I think he could kind of be that talk of the MLB on a team that probably won't do that good, but that is a guy to watch out for, if not early on, at least later in the year, and especially rolling into next season.
Yeah, I hate to piggyback off of Frank, but I feel like the two picks aren't even close. Like, it's those two guys. It's Wyatt and Yamamoto, just because of their situations. Like, I would love Jackson to have been in this conversation, but like you said, like, he's starting in the minors. Like, that's the best prospect in baseball. I would love to see him start, like, in the majors, like, day one, but that's not the case. So, I mean, I don't bet, but if I had to go put money in Vegas, I'm going with those two, Wyatt and Yamamoto. And next on the list, I know he's going to love this one. AL NL Cy Young.
All right, AL Cy Young, I'm going with the Baltimore Orioles, big addition, Corbin Burns. He's coming off a down year, but let's remember, at the beginning of last year, it was clear he did not want to be with the Brewers. And we mentioned about how, when an athlete is not happy and they're not happy where they are, they're not going to be at peak performance. I think that's what we saw with Corbin Burns last year. Now going from the NL to the AL, facing a lot of hitters that haven't seen him frequently. So I think Burns is going to get back to that Cy Young form and win the award. Not to mention that it's a contract year for Corbin Burns. I always like that as like a little sprinkle on top of like a positive, trade on why that player will do well. And, I think Burns, we've seen him do it in the past. He's a complete ace. He goes, if you're talking fantasy, he goes in the top 3 fantasy pitchers. And now with Gerrit Cole injured, that opens up, obviously makes Burns one of the favorites for AL Cy Young, and I think he wins the award. Speaking of favorites, my NL pick has to be Spencer Strider for Cy Young. I know it's the chalk pick, but I mean, the K rate is insane. And now Spencer Strider added a curveball to already an elite repertoire, that fastball and everything that he has. So he could get close to 300 strikeouts, and he's on the Atlanta Braves, an elite team. I could see Glasnow challenging him, but I don't know if the innings will be there enough to compete with Strider. So I got to stick with Spencer Strider to win NL Cy Young.
Man, those are
big guns.
Yeah, those are 2 strong picks. I don't really know if I want to give my answer anymore.
Well, let's give your answers from last year. You want to do that? So Don's Cy Young's picks last year were Emmanuel Clase and Zach Gallen. Oh, you're right. He would make a reappearance at this show. And then I picked DeGrom and Spencer Strider. So we missed on both of those.
I'm this year, AL, I'm going to go Framber Valdez through the no-hitter last year. He's with the Astros. So the way I look at it is he's going to be around. If he has even a remotely good season, his name's going to be thrown around for Cy Young, because I think they're going to be there toward the end. Then the NL, I'm going to go Logan Webb of the Giants.
Like
he's had a rough spring training, but to me, I'm like, all right, that's good, because get all that bad stuff out early, and then come regular season, you're good. And there's another reason why I went Logan Webb, which I'll explain in just a little bit. But those are my two.
All right. Well, I definitely agree with you on the Burns. So that was my pick. And to show you how much I believe in him, I did my first fantasy draft this year. My second and third picks were Gerrit Cole and Burns. So I need Burns to win the Cy Young, because I don't have Gerrit Cole anymore. So I need him to be everything you said he's going to be and more. So that was my pick. And then I actually did go with Glass now, and I was kind of scared to do it just for what you said. Like, I think he barely hits 120 innings or something like that. But I think just him being with the Dodgers, I think is going to I think they're going to cut him loose. And he's shown if you give him more work, like, he can get the job done. Like, he's up there with some of your favorite elite pitchers. It's just we haven't seen the big sample size. And I think he finally gets it. Like, he's on a team where they're going to need him to do it. So I got Glass now and I got Burns. But I feel much better now that you said he's the lock favorite to win it. Like, he's basically chalk. So my fantasy team is not toast because Gerrit Cole's not coming back.
I want to add one quick thing before we go to the other word about Logan Webb, a little tidbit. Adding Matt Chapman at third base, elite defender, and Logan Webb is like a big-time ground ball pitcher. It could help him as well. So just a little added point there that, speaks to your pick. Nice.
Okay. That makes me feel better, because after hearing some of the names you guys were throwing around, and I know Logan Webb struggled in spring training, I was like, So I like hearing that. I like hearing that.
But you went to your clutch insider to you won't even let me talk to him for advice. So I knew you were trying to show me up on this show. All right, we got 2 more awards left. Big boys, this is what we pay you guys the money for. AL, NL,
That's why we
MVP.
bring Frank in. That's why we bring Frank in.
No, because when you start hitting on these picks too, you start gloating. So I'm expecting great things from you too. So don't shy away. But AL, NL, MVP.
Okay, AL MVP, I'm going Juan Soto. Going to the Yankees, he's in a contract year, another contract year pick to go along with Corbin Burns. But, playing in Yankee Stadium in that short porch and right as a left-handed hitter, Juan Soto could, approach or even set a career high in home runs. We've already seen Soto doing really well in spring. And, the Gerrit Cole injury could help Soto win this award, because if the Yankees, let's say Cole pitches like 80 innings this year and the Yankees still make the playoffs or even win the division, and Soto has a good year, hey, he was a big reason they won. That could be favorable to the voters. And Aaron Judge is the favorite. Soto's probably ranked second in odds. But Aaron Judge, as you mentioned earlier in the episode, misses time here and there. He has these lingering injuries. In fact, Aaron Judge already had a lingering injury this spring. What was it? I think I forget what. Yeah, his toe or whatever. So he gets banged up. So Juan Soto's been pretty healthy throughout his career. 700 plus plate appearances, I think, each of the last couple of years. I think he's my favorite pick for AL MVP for the Yankees. And then NL MVP, I mentioned him earlier. It's Fernando Tatis. And in fact, losing Soto, and if the Padres make the playoffs or make some noise, that could be good for Tatis's chances with voters, because he could carry them towards the playoffs. Well, obviously, they're not as good on paper. And as I mentioned earlier, Tatis, we've seen him be able to really crush the baseball, 20+% barrel rate in 2021. For context, that's like Aaron Judge level. That's like peak. That's like top in MLB in terms of quality of contact. And Fernando Tatis can run. If we were looking at if we want to get advanced stats like WAR, like I think Fernando Tatis earlier in his career, he was worth 7.3 WAR in 2021. That's MVP numbers. So I think especially if you could carry the Padres, Tatis is a nice pick.
Yeah. Before I go, know thyself 2011 Brian Reynolds for MVP. Listen, I'm not going to go that far.
Because you have no guts. This is your team. They got all these sexy picks that will make you like a genius. You didn't talk about any of them.
I did. Key Brian Hayes. I talked about Key Brian Hayes.
After Know Thyself guilted you into it. You weren't going to say anything about the Pirates.
No. I had Key Brian Hayes.
You had to say Pirates world champs before you said anything about their players.
That's not true. But I I like the Pittsburgh Pirates love on this show from the fans. So
before you go, I gotta give you your props because I'm gonna give our MVP picks from last year. So you nailed the AL MVP, which was Ohtani, and then you also picked Tatis to win for NL, and I picked Jose Ramirez in the AL and also Juan Soto. So what route are you going this year? You know, because you're so great at these predictions, man.
Who said you keep saying that? I never said it. Listen, I'm going to go with Frank Tatis Jr. I'm on board with it.
You going back to back Tatis picks?
Yup. Unlike you, I stay loyal. With my.
I haven't even gone yet, so you don't even know anything about me.
You already bashed Soto earlier.
No, I didn't. You did.
Yes. You said that.
I said he's going to live up to the expectations.
Yeah, because
he's going to finally live up to the expectations that I had from last year.
Because he didn't have a good year last year. So I'm going Tatis and Frank. Did you say Judge in the AL?
No, I said Soto.
Soto. Okay, Soto. I wasn't sure which Yankee guy. I'm going to go with Bobby Witt Jr.
Hey,
batted 276, 30 homers.
That's your type of player. You love Bobby Witt.
He barely misses games, which I love. That puts you in the running right away. And Frank, is this right? He had 49 stolen bases.
Yeah.
I mean, Mama Mia. Listen, sign me up. 30 homers, 49 stolen bases, doesn't miss games, and sneaky. The Royals, right? He's with the Royals, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Hey.
The Royals could be a sneaky team. I know none of us picked them, but they're in that weak division that we talk about. Which watch it be
stay healthy though, man.
Watch it be the best. Watch it be the best division.
If you tell me like somebody like Pascal Antino is going to play all the games, like I'm like, ooh, now I'm interested.
But that's the thing. Bobby Witt Jr. He barely misses games so far. JT.
Oh man.
I got a good staff for you that I tweeted out. I had to dig deep. I tweeted this one like in December on Bobby Witt. From June 1st onwards, he hit 303 with 20 homers and 32 steals. So that's like crazy. He attempted 44 steals, so they let him run wild. And he trimmed his strikeout rate by 8.2% during that stretch. So he really took a leap as a hitter into potential like superstardom. So I could absolutely see Bobby Witt Jr. having a big year and maybe winning the award.
Okay, listen, Frank's making me feel good with these picks. I mean, Frank,
you're giving him good luck, which means he'll never shut up. So thank you. I know who to call when this blows up in my face. I do like your picks. I like Bobby Witt too. So NL, I had Mookie Betts just because I think they're going to need him to be the constant with all the distractions going on that team this year. And I think he's in a good position to win it. And for those of you who say that I don't, support my picks and I switch sides, I don't, because I agree with Frank. I'm going Soto to win the MVP. And I'm picking him again for a second straight year. So guess what, Soto, if you're watching, you better not let me down because you made me look bad last year. So those are my two picks for MVP. Now, the big dog, World Series matchup and winner. Frank, who you got?
All right, so I'm going to stick with my surprising team. I'm going to go with the Mariners to get to the World Series just behind that stacked rotation I mentioned earlier. And I think the Mariners are going to lose to the Atlanta Braves. The Braves last year had an amazing season, and they really were a letdown in the playoffs. And I think they're going to bounce back from that. They're just completely stacked. I know you are down on Chris Sale, both of you, but I think the change of scenery is going to do well for him, and he's healthy. Last year he's coming off the injury. I think he could be, quite effective. Spencer Strider could be even better this season, and obviously that lineup is stacked. So I think the Braves are going to be the World Series champions this year over the surprise Mariners.
That's a pretty good matchup if that's what goes down. Beauty in the Least says Rays 2024. So
we'll see. But so all right. Rays didn't win last year, but we got to talk about who we picked. And these teams definitely did not win last year. So Don, you picked the Jays versus the Phillies in the series. You picked the Jays as the winners.
But the Phillies made it, did they not?
No, you were all over the Jays.
No, they were close.
The
year before.
And it was the Diamondbacks. It was the Diamondbacks. My fault. Yeah.
And then the Padres and the Jays, I picked the Padres to win it also. Obviously, we did not get those right. So let's be wrong again.
Let's help the listeners at home. Whatever JT and I picked,
Do not put your money on.
Make sure you listen to Frank. There we go. Listen to Frank.
Who you got?
All right. I'm going back with the Blue Jays. I'm loyal.
Let's go.
I'm loyal to a fault. There is no way that they're going to do that 2 years in a row. I'm going Blue Jays. And then I'm going San Francisco Giants. And that's why I go back to the Logan Webb pick. The Giants last year at one point, they were in the mix. They fell off, I think, at the end. But if they had some pitching, which now I think they do with Blake Snell, they could have been in that Diamondbacks position last year. And I think that's who jumps the Diamondbacks. I think it's the Giants. So I've got Giants, Blue Jays. In the end, I'm going to say Giants just because.
Wow, all that to just not pick the Blue Jays.
Just because of what they've done.
I can't deal with you. All this false bravado for you to just do this scary thing. All right, so those are good picks. Frank, I agree with you. I actually did have the Braves making it. But you know what? I'm going to go out on a limb here. And who I think are going to face the Braves in the World Series, Rays 2024, baby. Wow. I want peace in my house. I am tired of seeing the Rays get close and no cigar. I'm tired of seeing the crying every playoff exit. I want some happiness in my house. So the Rays versus the Braves, and the Rays will win the World Series this year. We got money on it. Like I said, I want happiness.
Let's see some Frank, Junior Caminero.
Frank, you heard earlier in the show that he says he doesn't bet, but you heard
I didn't say I placed it. I didn't say I placed it. Hey, I might have had an interpreter put it in.
It's a house. It's a household.
Hey, look.
You guys are commingling funds.
You say it doesn't count. It don't count in real life. So my interpreter might have put the money down. It's up to you guys to launch an investigation to find out what really happened. I don't know how he keeps his records.
Hey, JT, after the show, you can tell us who your true pick is.
No, it really is the Rays.
Right.
This is the team I want them to win. I want them to win because my team is nowhere close to winning a World Series. The Marlins, obviously. I've seen them win 2 World Series. I've seen them win a World Series live in person. I know how that feels. It's amazing.
Blink twice if you were forced to make
the Rays pick. I do want to see the Rays win. I'm rocking their throwback. I want to see them win.
Frank, you do understand the other person in his household is a huge Rays fan, just to make sure that's clear.
Yeah, I know. I got that.
Okay.
I want to see him win. So Rays against Braves, Rays win it all.
That would be wild. Hey, you never know. They still got talent there.
They do. That was fun. Always fun with the predictions. So to wrap up the show, we're going to go everyone's favorite segment, Forget About It or Fugazi. So the way it works is we're going to read a statement, and if we agree with it, we think it's a hot take, we're going to say forget about it. If we don't agree with it and we think, it's not a good take, we're going to say Fugazi. All right, Frank, you're up first.
All right.
The Orioles' immediate youth success will be the norm around the league in the MLB.
So you look at the Orioles, and really, like the last couple of years, they've had the best prospects around. Like Gunnar Henderson was like top 5. Adley Rutschman was right there. Now Jackson Holliday is right there. They even have Colby Mayo, who's highly regarded. He's a third baseman. He didn't even make the team, Holliday or Mayo, because they even have this Jordan Westberg, who's a good young player. They're just totally stacked with young talent, and I don't think that will be the norm. I'm going to call Fugazi on this one because it's tough to amass that much young talent. So for it to be the norm, that means like most of the teams have this much young talent. I just don't see that happening. So I'm going to call Fugazi on that one.
I like it, and I'm going to agree. It's Fugazi. It's very difficult not only to amass that talent, Frank, but to me, even more importantly, it's difficult to evaluate young talent and hit on so many in such a short period of time. I think there's so many factors that determine the success of young players. Some of it's injuries, right? You've got pitchers that come up young, UCL injuries. So Tommy John is needed. Tommy John surgery is needed. So that's why I'm going to say Fugazi.
I guess I got to be the voice of reason. It's forget about it. And I took this question as I think what's been holding that back in the past is teams just don't give young players that many opportunities early on. But that time is sailed. Like, look at last year. What? 10 rookies hit at least 20 home runs. 11 rookies stole at least 20 bases, which ties like the most ever. And 14 rookie pitchers recorded at least 100 strikeouts. That's like the most since 2021. So what that says is, look, hey, we're gonna turn if we think this guy is in our system, he's a top prospect, and we think we can call him up, we're gonna throw him to the wolves. Like, I think teams are gonna be more willing to play younger guys earlier. And I think they might not be at the talent level of like a collection as the Orioles, because that's a one-of-one. Like, that's insane. But you're going to start to see teams play guys sooner because it's showing that it works.
But JT, the statement was immediate youth success.
I just read immediate youth success. All the rookie stats from last year.
Nah. Listen,
I know your glasses don't work, but the headphones work.
Free agency is going to be the way for a lot of these big market teams. The Yankees, Red Sox, Dodgers, all those teams. It's like the transfer portal in college. They're going to go the way of the portal, the way of free agency. This is not going to be the norm. The Pirates have been trying to do this for 30 years now.
Just because you guys are bad doesn't mean other people can't do it well.
But that is more the norm. Look at the history of MLB the past 30 years. Oh, so-and-so has the #1 farm system. I ain't see them winning the title. Yes, the Astros able to pull it, but it doesn't mean it's the norm. It doesn't mean it's the norm. All right, next one. Speaking of the Astros, JT, I give you credit. This was a good question. It had me thinking.
You know, this is why I can't deal with you. You only credit stuff you actually like. Like, hey, I love this one. And anything you're on the fence about, it's like, wow, we got to talk about this.
That's right. So the Astros are a top 3 MLB dynasty of all time.
Hey, you know what they did has been great so far. They've been contending every year for a while now, and they won 2 World Series in a row. They went deep last season. But, baseball, MLB's been around a long time, and top 3 is I don't know, that feels a bit lofty. I'm going to go Fugazi on that one. Those Yankee teams, and I'm sure honestly, off the top of my head, it's hard to think of others, but I know there's got to be. It's hard to say that put the Astros in the top 3.
No, you're right, Frank. But I'll let JT go first.
Fugazi, they cheated. That's why. Fugazi.
Wow.
Just also for what you said, you got to go back. Baseball's been around so long. Think about all the great players that have played in baseball. Because we had this argument about Ohtani if he was top 5 already. And it's you really have to think about everything that's happened in the history of baseball. And you're like, now we're going to put them in the top 3? Nah, Fugazi.
Yeah, it's Fugazi. And to back up what Frank was saying, when you go and look, at some of these, some of these stats, just within a 6-year period, they may not even be a top 3 dynasty just within a 6-year period in the past 30 years. Because you have obviously that Yankees team, right, of 96 to 01. They won. Here, I'll pull up the stats real quick because I think it goes to show you something. 5 divisions in that 6 years, 5 pennants won, 4 World Series titles. Then the other team you can put in front of the Astros just within the past 30 years in a 6-year span, the 09 to 2014 Giants. You have to put them in there because them alone, again, 2 divisions won, 3 pennants, 3 World Series titles. So, and then you can go back the whole 70s with the Cincinnati Reds, and then obviously other Yankee teams, in particular the 47 to 53 Yankees. So right there are 4 teams without even thinking of other dynasties that are in front of them.
Better dynasty, the Astros and the Marlins, 97 to 01.
Well, it'd be 03, 97 to 03.
Yeah, 03.
Yeah, get the years
Astros.
Right.
97 to 03.
Got to be the Astros.
It is Astros. Just gets a consistency. All right.
I think you would answer the question, man. Can't you see me being facetious? Those glasses are supposed to work.
I never know with you because one day you're a Miami fan, one day you're a Ravens fan.
I'm a Marlins fan for life. You know this. I've dragged you to enough games.
So you haven't taken me to one.
Every time we've gone to a game, I get you good seats, and Stanton never hits a home run. I've complained about this many times.
We got to finish the show. Last one. The A's move to Vegas will change their franchise. Frank?
Oh, this is 100% no doubt a forget about it. Like the A's there, I know it sucks for the longtime fans. You always hate to see the team move. They get, it sucks for them, but let's face it, the attendance isn't good. The ballpark isn't good. From what I've read, I don't think it's like I don't know, it's not like it moved Oakland moving to Vegas is gonna be more lively, like nice new stadium, first time baseball team there. We saw the Golden Knights, they have so much success in the NHL. The Raiders, they're tough at home. They had a little bit of moments last year, and they'll probably the A's probably going to Vegas, they won't be this super low payroll team. I mean, that's just a general assumption. Going to a city like Las Vegas, they'll spend more. So it's definitely going to change the franchise, I would say.
Yeah, it's. Oh, sorry, JT. Go ahead. I got excited on it. Go ahead, JT.
Let's forget about it. It's Vegas. Like the Raiders moved to Vegas, and now we care about them, and they still are not good. Like I've seen all the renderings of this ballpark, and it's next to the MGM Grand. Like if you've been to Vegas, even if you're not a baseball fan, you're just gonna want to walk and go to this game because that stadium's gonna be so beautiful, and you're in Vegas. Like it can only go up. I'm sorry, like that old A's ballpark, one of the worst ballparks of all time. Like, is that the same ballpark where, like, in the guest locker room, like the sprinklers are leaking and stuff like that? They had to put the paper cups up. Like, it's bad. All right, Vegas makes everything better, so I think it's forget about it.
Yeah, it's forget about it. It can't get worse. It can't get worse where they were at. I mean, everything there, no fans coming, just everything about it. And to JT's point, more money is going to get pumped into the team. And not only that will attract the free agents, but now it's Vegas. That city alone will attract those free agents. So they may be willing to take a little bit of a pay cut, knowing they don't have to pay that California state tax anymore. They'll take a little bit of a pay cut, but it's Vegas, man. It's a much more desirable destination, and let's face it, than where the A's were playing before. Like that stadium, they were the last team to share a stadium with a football team. I mean, they were the last team to have infield dirt in a football stadium.
I haven't seen the infield dirt since like 2004.
Like it's bad. So I mean,
it's great though too, because like somebody like Ohtani could play his game and send his translator just right next door to Mandalay to place his bets. Like it's perfect. It's perfect situation.
No, that's it. And they would be legal bets. But no, that's it. Enough of that stuff with Ohtani. Frank, before we end the show, please tell everybody where they can find you.
So you can find me on all social platforms, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, at FAMMIRANTETFJ. I'm most active on Twitter, always posting, bets and useful tidbits for fantasy. Just dropped fantasy baseball rankings at thegameday.com. Check us out there. Also fantasy closer rankings, because you know how complicated these bullpens could be at times. And any other betting content, go to thegameday.com. We got you covered there. And guys, it's always a pleasure and great discussion. And I look forward to talking football when I come back.
Absolutely. The stuff that Frank does on social media is great. So check it out. I mean, you talk about some of the stats he threw out tonight or on the show. Listen, he's got much more where that comes from. So take a look at it, follow him. And Frank, thank you again for your time. We will definitely have you back on at the very latest, the fantasy football preview show going into the NFL season. Maybe if you have time, we know you're busy, you can stop.
I would love to even earlier.
Between now and then, absolutely. Whether it's to talk more baseball, maybe a little bit of all-star break stuff. Maybe we can work something out there. But thank you again for your time. And to all the fans and listeners out there, thank you for listening to us. And remember to please subscribe to us, JT and the Don All Sports Podcast. We can be found on all of the major platforms where you find all of your other favorite podcasts. And remember, if you like what we do, leave us a 5-star review. And JT,
if you don't like what we do,
leave us a 5-star review. And remember to please follow us on social media. Our handle, JT and the Don. We can be found on Instagram, X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook. So again, thank you to Frank Emirante and JT. Until the next episode, See ya.
Peace.